if any. Oh, hold on. It's asking me to consent to being recorded.
Yeah, sorry, I just remembered to hit.
All right. All right. So I'll do my little introduction that I always do. So my name is Matt. I'm the owner of Animal World Experience, which is right here inside my house. I opened this in 2006, but before that, I've always worked with animals, basically. I worked at a private zoo. I worked for other animal companies doing travel animal programs like I do now for myself. I was a dog groomer. I worked at a pet resort. I was a vet tech. I used to build and maintain aquariums, all different animal related jobs pretty much. But I've always kind of come back to this, and this is what I really wanted to do. So in my house here, we've got somewhere around 80 exotic animals. I don't really keep count anymore because I don't want to know. And I have 2 animal rooms. So right now we're in what I call the furry animal room. And back in the day, it was all just furry animals, but now I have so many animals, different types, that kind of like overflowed into here and had to keep on redesigning this room. So I've got all kinds of stuff. There's aquarium there, there's aquarium below it, there's a big cage here, big cage next to it, there's aquariums like up and down the wall here in 2 rows. And the other room is what I call the reptile room. And that's where I have more of my indoor ponds and some other big cages for the snakes and stuff like that. Almost all my animals here are rescued or adopted. So they're animals that like people couldn't keep or couldn't care for anymore. And they give them to me, I adopt them, give them a forever home, which I'm very proud of. And this is my full-time job. At least it was before COVID. We kind of lost it for a year there, but it's slowly coming back a little bit, which I'm grateful for. So so tonight I'm going to show you a lot of really cool animals. And do you want to just keep it all about the tails of animals, like their actual physical tail, or do you want me to talk about like dangerous animals and all kinds of things? Like how strict do you want to keep it here?
I think just talk about everything dangerous.
Okay. Okay, cool. I can definitely do that. So I can work with the animals in here, and I also brought some animals from the other room, and they're in little carriers in the hallway, so it's faster than having me get them out of their cages. So I'm going to go ahead and get the first one. And I usually do this, if you see me in person live, I do this animal last. That way people don't leave right off the bat. So let me get her out. This is a beautiful little girl named Captain Crunch. And I don't know if anybody can guess what it is by that name. I have literally had a scheme for about 20 years that I've been working with this animal that I wanted to get my own. I wanted it to be a female and an albino, and to name it Captain Crunch. And I finally got this one about 1.5 years ago. So she's still a little baby, but she's just darling. I love her. I'm so excited. Cannot wait till she gets big, and she will get really, really big. Here she is. Here's the first one. This is the Captain Crunch. So Captain Crunch is a Burmese python. You may have heard about the pythons down in Florida causing all kinds of problems. This is that same exact type of python, but this one's an albino. You're probably not going to see an albino down in the Everglades because they cannot camouflage, you know, but they're native to Asia. And the craziest thing about having them down in Florida is they are the 3rd largest snake in the entire world. When they're full grown, a female like this can get up to 18 feet long, weigh over 300 pounds. And an adult female can lay over 90 eggs a year. So Florida's in a heap of trouble. These have kind of replaced the American alligator as the apex predator down there in Florida. Now, as far as snakes are concerned with their tail, you can see her wrapping around me. These are a constrictor, okay? They usually don't constrict with the tail. However, when they're small like this, they do climb quite a bit to escape danger and to hunt for food. And they kind of always use their tail kind of like as an extra limb. And they'll wrap around things in case they slip or a branch breaks, and that'll catch their fall. And you can see how strong she is. She can pull herself right back up onto my arm if she wants. They're just all muscle. And she's kind of being lazy right now, but she can do that. So you probably heard of rattlesnakes. We know how rattlesnakes make the rattling sound to warn of danger. And other snakes do that too. Lots of other snakes, like especially local snakes around here, will rattle their tail as a warning to you. That's because they don't want to engage you. Of all the animals that I've worked with, I'd say snakes want to bite you the least. And the reason why is, first of all, their jaws are very different than ours. They have a a top jaw, and their bottom jaw has a left bottom jaw and a right bottom jaw connected with ligaments in the middle. That allows them to stretch their mouth open and actually dislocate their bottom jaw to swallow larger prey. And their teeth are also very delicate. Their teeth, I mean, this snake has about 100 teeth. They don't have different teeth like us. They're all about the same. They're shaped like little recurved hooks. And that's for just grabbing onto their prey so it cannot pull away. But their teeth are delicate. If a snake bites something that's not their prey and the animal tries to wrestle free, their teeth can break off. You know, like if she were to bite me, she's never bitten me, but if she were to bite me right now and I pulled back with a reflex, I'll get cut. Instead of having little puncture wounds, I'll get lacerations and her teeth might break off in my skin, and which causes me a problem. It can get infected. It's hard to get out, and they're almost clear. It's like if you ever cleaned up a light bulb that broke, you get little shards of glass and you can't see them and you're using a magnifying glass and tweezers to get them out. But she will never grow the teeth back. And that's a disadvantage to her for protecting herself in the future or for hunting in the future. So they really do not want to bite, but they'll puff up, they'll hiss at you, they'll try to get away. They also rattle their tail. Even snake like this with no rattle will rattle their tail in the leaves and the grass, and it makes a little rattling sound as a warning. Around here, garter snakes do that, northern water snakes do that, black racers do that, ringneck snakes do it, milk snakes do it. Pretty much all the native snakes that are not venomous will do that also. Now, a crazy note about this type of snake in particular, I've worked with very, very large ones. The biggest one I've worked with was a 16-foot female. And with a snake that big, it's as strong as 3 adult men. And we had a rule back when I worked at a private zoo, we had that 16-foot Burmese python, and we had a rule. If you opened up the cage and unlocked it to go in there for any reason, even just to change the water bowl or to clean up a snake turd, you had to have somebody in the room with you for just in case, because if that snake grabbed you, there's no way I can get out of it. That's how strong they are. And there should be 3 people in the room, because a snake that's that big can constrict me on the front end, and then they can wrap around a second person with their tail and constrict that person too. And neither one of us might not be able to get out. It's pretty crazy, pretty unnerving. That being said, I can't wait till she gets big. These snakes are known for being pretty tame. They are a pretty popular pet python, and they get big pretty quick. And when they do get big, it's beyond the capability of most people as far as safety and housing and handling and all that. So they're not really a good pet. But, you know, I've worked with these and snakes like it for, you know, since I was a teenager. So I know what I'm in for. And I keep her cage locked. I keep her room she's in locked all the time. And I'm very careful, even at this size, you know, but pretty awesome. So when I got her, she was only about maybe 16 inches long, a little hatchling. She's grown a lot. She's about 3 or 3.5 feet long now. And I'm purposely growing her big slowly by not feeding her too much. Some people that really want the snake to get big fast so it's impressive, you know, you have the wow factor, or if they're trying to breed these, they do a trick what's called power feeding. So you keep them extra warm and you feed them multiple times a week, and they have an explosive growth rate. So you can get a 16-inch hatchling and they can be 12 feet long by the time they're 2 years old if you do that. She's almost that age, and you can see how small she is, but she's not thin. She's like a perfect weight, you know. So you gotta be careful with these. And if you do the power feeding, they get big fast, yeah, but then they develop all kinds of problems from obesity and problems with their eyes, and they don't live as long and that kind of thing. So I don't want to do that to her. I want her to have a long, healthy, happy life. So we take things slow around here. Any questions? Are there any questions about this snake so far? I don't see anything going on in the chat, and I cannot hear anybody, so I don't know. I'll give you guys a second in case you have any questions.
Did you say Captain Crunch is 2 now?
She's almost 2, yeah.
Okay. And how long is she?
She's about 3.5 feet long.
Okay, but she could be 12 feet if you did the power.
By this age, if I had power fed her, she could be 12 feet long and as thick as my bicep already. Yeah, it's crazy to think about. I kind of wish she was a little bit bigger, you know, for shows, but she'll get there. By next summer, she'll have some length to her.
Just in time, hopefully. There is a question from Jason.
I see.
Yeah, how do you know where a snake's tail starts and the body ends?
That's a great question. People ask me that a lot, especially the kids always ask me, because Because some kids think like the whole thing is tail or it's like half tail, you know. But very, very simple. So snakes have one opening called a cloaca, just like birds have. And that's like the all-purpose valve, I call it. That's where the pee and the poop comes out. That's where the babies come out. That is also where the tail begins. So if she unwraps me, it's like a snap bracelet, like the original snap bracelet. If she unwraps me, right there, you see how that scale's kind of a different shape. You can see a little slit there. That is her cloaca. So just this little bit is her tail. This 4 inches right here from, she's being a wiggle. Right about where my thumb is to the end is her tail. And the rest is her body. So they have a very small tail. And that's actually one of the ways you tell a boy apart from a girl, aside from the fact that the girls get bigger. With a boy, and I'll tell you this because there's no kids, I hope. With a boy snakes, and this is true for all reptiles, they have 2 penises, the left one and the right one. And they're stored inside out in the base of the tail, and they take up a lot of room. So male snakes have a much thicker, longer tail than a female. Females have shorter and thinner tails. So let me see, there's another question here. What do you do if you need her to let go of something like your arm? Like if she bit me by accident? Well, if it's not that bad and if I can move at least one of my arms, what you do is you unwrap beginning at the tail. You always start beginning at the tail, because if she's wrapping around you, constricting you defensively, chances are she's biting you and holding on to. They don't like to let go if it's a defensive bite. So she'll be latched onto me somewhere and she'll begin wrapping. So you're not going to get her head off because the teeth are like hooked onto you, you know, and if you try to pull the head off, you're going to hurt her and it's going to hurt me worse. So you always start by unwrapping the tail because it's a little bit weaker because it's thinner. You just start with the tail and you go up from there. If it's a larger snake, that's more of a problem. I need to make sure, first of all, that I can breathe. And I can try to kind of use my body or a doorway as kind of leverage to kind of help to kind of push her off. And the crazy thing is, like, when they're out like this, they're not that strong, but when they're curled up and their body isn't all close, they're extremely strong. It's almost like if you're lifting dumbbells, you know, you can do a curl and it's not that bad, but if you take the same weight you do for a curling exercise, you try to do raises with it with your arm stretched out, it's a lot harder. It's the same thing. So up close, they're very, very strong. And you want to try to get her to unravel and stretch them out so they're not as strong that way. They're not going to, not going to totally take you over and have you go where they want you to go, kind of thing. Some people swear by having a jar of vinegar next to the snake's cage that you can grab. And if a snake grabs you and you can't get out, if it's a big snake, you're supposed to like dump the vinegar on their head because they don't like it. And that might make them let go. I don't know if that would work. I've never seen anybody do it. I've heard it. I've been hearing this for 20 years. Never seen anybody do it. I bet if you search on YouTube, you'll probably get videos about it and if it works or not, but I don't know. All right, anything else, or I can move on to a different animal? The warmer she gets, the more wiggly she gets. Yeah, she is very, very, very pretty girl. And she's an albino, so she has like the pink, beautiful pink eyeballs. I don't know how well you can see it. It's pretty good right there. A normal one would have brown, like chocolate brown eyes, and light brown and dark brown, where the oranges would be dark brown. All right, I'm gonna put her away. She was a very good girl. And right, you can see her cloaca is open. See the scale? Her cloaca is open a little bit. She's getting ready to poop on me. You see that right there? I'm gonna put her away before she does. Not a good omen to get pooped on with the first animal on a show. Some shows, like almost every animal poops on me, and the kids go bananas. They love it when I get bit or stung or pooped on or peed on. It's the best. It's the one thing they remember from the whole show. All right, let's do this one here. And I'm not actually going to pick him up. I'm going to show you. This is one of my baby scorpions in here. You're not going to be able to see him until I take him out because he's very, very small, but this is what he lives in. I've never shown anybody what they live in before. This is just a plastic habitat. I get them on Amazon. You know, I have like a scorpion in one, a tarantula in one, tarantula in another one. I kind of stack them up like that. And it's just got some cork bark in here. Let me see where he's at. This is a baby flat rock scorpion from the desert. And you can see, I don't know if you can, he's on the bark. He's right there. You can see he's kind of aimed right at you, aimed right at the camera. So there he is. I do not handle the baby ones because they're very, very fast and flingy. They love to pinch you. They love to try to sting you. As they get bigger, they're slower and they're kind of calmer, and I could actually hold some of them. I even had one female emperor scorpion one time that I could pet, and I'd have her like, I go to a show at a library with like 100 kids there. I'd have her like walk up my arm, across my shoulder, down the other arm, and I could pet her and stuff. But this one I got about 2.5 years ago as a baby. I actually got 2 of them, and they were the size of the nail on my pinky finger when I got them. Teeny tiny. They were just born. And they don't lay eggs, by the way. The mother scorpion gives live birth like a human, and all the babies climb on mama's back, and she kind of cares for them, which is kind of neat. But this one is the largest type in the world that'll get the size of my entire hand when it's done growing. So that'll be a very, very impressive scorpion. But I had 2 for about 2 months, and then I went to feed them one day, and I only found this one. And what happened was this one got a little hungry, and he ate his brother. Tough love for you, right? Survival of the fittest, I guess. He just ate his brother, the entire thing, just ate him. So they're supposed to be able to live together in groups too. They've been living together since they were born, and they were fine, but got a little too hungry. So let me see if I can pick this up. I'm going to try to watch him because he will start to crawl around. I don't want him to crawl onto my hand and sting my finger, but you can see him a little bit better there. And you know what? I want to show you guys something even cooler. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to go on the hallway to my supply bin for 1 second. I'm going to grab a special flashlight to show you the coolest thing with this scorpion. Give me 1 second. All right. You guys are going to like this. This is a black light. See that? It's kind of purpley. People that live down in Florida or out west where there's native scorpions, a lot of people buy these on like Amazon. And when you go and walk your dog outside, you shine it around and scorpions fluoresce. They glow in the dark like a green with this. So people use it that way. You're like walking your dog and your dog doesn't like step on one or sniff one and get stung. And some people like shine them around their basement because they love to climb underneath things, inside shoes. Like you'll take your shoes off when you come in the house. And a scorpion wants a dark place when it gets to be daytime to hide. They'll go on your shoe, you put your shoe on, you get stung in the foot. So people like shine these in their shoes. But check this out. So it's like chocolate brown without it. Check this out. Let me get a good angle here so you can see it. It's kind of making the whole log shine for you guys, but I don't see that. I just see the scorpion glowing. But they glow green. And by the way, because of this, I named this one Pistachio. Actually, I didn't name it. I was at Normandy Farms Campground. I asked the kids to come up with a name because I hadn't named it yet. And one of the kids came up with the name Pistachio because it's green. So it's kind of neat. It's very, very cool. So you can see the tail there. The tail's kind of curled up on its side. And he's coming towards my hand, and I don't like it. So the tail has a stinger on it. And it looks almost like a lobster, but except, you know, having fins on the tail, this one has a stinger on the tail. And that is both for defensive use and for food. And they like to eat little insects. And if it's a small insect that they can overpower, they'll just grab it with their pinchers and start to eat it live. They don't sting it. They don't do anything. If it's a large insect and it's struggling and the scorpion thinks it may escape, or the scorpion thinks that the scorpion may get injured, it will begin to sting it. And what it'll do, you know, a lot of insects have an exoskeleton, but they have little joints along it that are softer. It's almost like our skin. The scorpion, you'll see it like curl its tail over its back, and it'll feel around with a stinger for a soft spot. And when it finds a soft spot where a joint is on a cricket or a beetle, it'll jab it in there. It'll sting it several times, and it'll wait for the insect to get paralyzed. So that's kind of what they do. I got stung by one of my emperor scorpions at a library in front of the kids. And I saw her do it. What happened was, like, it was the one that I can hold in my hand. very, very friendly. But I know you can't really see it here, but they're covered in thousands of little hairs like the whiskers on a rabbit or a kitten or a puppy. And they're very sensitive to movements in the air, vibrations. So I had it on my hand in front of me, and a kid asked me a question. I was answering the question, walking around, and I breathed on it, and my breath made the scorpion back up, and it backed up into my finger. Didn't know what it was, kind of startled it, so it stung me underneath my fingernail. And I thought it missed me at first. You know, I felt kind of a click. I looked, there was venom on my nail. It was this finger, venom on my nail. And I said something like, oh, that was a close call. And I put the scorpion away, finished the show, packed up, didn't feel anything. And I packed up, brought everything out to the car. I remember like putting my hands on the steering wheel to back out of my parking spot at the library. And I realized my hand felt funny. I couldn't feel the steering wheel. So I looked at my finger, and my finger was swollen. It looked like a sausage. It was disgusting. And so it was numb at first. And then the pain started, and it felt like my finger was in a flame. And then my whole hand swelled up, and then my whole hand was numb for about 24 hours. Craziest thing. And there's no antidote. It's not like you can go to the hospital and get anti-venom like they have for certain snakes, you know. They don't have that for scorpions. So you just have to kind of let it wear off. And they're not deadly. They're not going to kill a person unless you're allergic. And unfortunately, there's no way to know if you're allergic unless you get stung. So luck of the draw with that one, I guess. But I wasn't allergic. So it just causes a lot of swelling and intense pain. You're not going to die. You may wish you were dead if it's a bad sting, but no permanent damage or anything from that. You can kind of see him right there on his little log. And he can sense this light, so he's trying to get away from it. Cool. Let me see. Lucky to live in a colder part of the country. Yeah, totally, totally. How many babies do they have at a time? Depends on the species. One time, one of my emperors, when I got her, I didn't know it, but she was pregnant when I got her. I just thought she liked to eat a lot, you know. And she was pregnant, and she gave birth to about 20 babies on one night. And I went in the cage the next day, and all the babies they come out of their mom's rear end, they kind of climb right up on her back, and they're bright white when they're born, and they're teeny tiny like that. And all you see is this big mass of white on mama's back, and it's all the little babies. And it's kind of neat what a good mother they are. She will care for them, protect them, and that's why they stay with her, because they're bright white when they're born. They cannot camouflage yet. So she kind of takes care of them. If any big predators come around, mama will pinch, she'll sting. And mama was very friendly before she gave birth, but after that, she was very, very aggressive with me. So I couldn't handle her for months afterwards. And she'll catch insects, kill them, lay them down in front of her. She'll kneel down. The babies will climb down her leg, eat some. When they're done, right back on mama's back. And as they grow, they molt their exoskeleton. Each time they molt, they grow a little bit, but the exoskeleton gets darker. So they go from like white to light gray, and then to dark gray, and then to a brownish. And eventually with that species, they end up black. So that's how they grow. I don't know where he went now. Oh, he's on the bottom. He's on the ground in here now. Up there you are, you're back, I see you. So one more really, really weird thing, but it's cool to me. When I had my first scorpions, I had them in a big glass, like a 20-gallon fish tank, basically, with dirt on the bottom. And they cannot, they're different than a spider or a tarantula. They cannot climb glass. They have to be able to get a grip on it. It's got to be a rough surface like this cork or rocks or plants. And I would clean the cage, and I'd find scorpion poop, which is white, smeared up on the walls, like this high off the bottom. And I kept on scratching my head like, how in the heck is poop getting on the walls? They can't climb. This makes no sense. So I sat in the dark for like half the night, drinking a beer, watching the scorpions with just a black light on, and watching to see if one would poop. And finally, one of the big females came walking out from her cave, stuck her tail out, and as she walked, she pooped and smeared it on the glass. They poop out the tip of their tail right below their stinger. Isn't that the weirdest thing you've ever heard? They poop out their tail. So it's a real oddity for you. Let me see. All right, no other questions? I'll put him away. Show you guys something else. While I'm here, I'll show this one to you guys. This one technically doesn't have a tail, but on the rear end of her, she has something very cool I want to show you. Hi, honey. Let me see if she'll come out onto this for us. Come here. Come here. Let us see you. This is one of my tarantulas. This is Angela the tarantula. I adopted this girl probably about 5 years ago now from a college student in the town of Easton, town next to me. And they had had her for 11 years. And I met this kid and his mother at a younger kid's birthday party. And afterwards, you know, a lot of times like parents will come up to me, do you want my turtle? Do you want my this? Do you want my that? This mother goes, do you want my tarantula? And I was like, yeah, I love tarantulas. I've worked with them, you know, since I was a kid. And she told me this tarantula has been living on her kitchen counter for 11 years. And she's sick and tired of cooking dinner staring at a tarantula, you know, kind of creepy. So I drove to their house. Just like she said, she's in a 10-gallon aquarium right next to the kitchen stove, right next to the stove and the oven. So I brought her home. And she is just the sweetest tarantula I have. I have 4 of them. This is the only rose hair I have, though. And just like with the scorpion, they cannot kill a person. They do have very large fangs. Their fangs are about 1 centimeter long. And they do have venom, but the venom is for killing insects. If one bit you, it would be like being stung by a bee or 2 bees, because there's 2 fangs. It would hurt a lot, swell up a lot, but no big deal. Now, on her rear end, if you can see, there are these 2 dark brown, almost black things sticking out, just like that, right on the end of her bum, right there. Those are her spinnerets, where the web comes out. And they can articulate just like fingers. They go like this when they spin a web. As they walk, they always have a few strands of silk coming out. And a neat thing that I love to show people, to see if she'll let me do it, if I touch my finger to the spinnerets, web sticks to my finger, and I can literally pull a web right out of her rear end like that. And she's spinning a web right on this thing right now. You can see the spinnerets hanging down right there. Let me touch them. Oh, hold on. Let her climb around the other side if she wants to. And let me see. If the lighting's not right, you won't be able to see it. But I'll just touch those spinnerets. See that? Can you see it? There's web connecting to my finger. So this is like a game to me. When I'm bored, I'll sit in here and I'll just like pull webs out and I'll see how long I can get it before it breaks. It's like a game. And she just sits there with this dummy. That's what I do. It's pretty cool. So it's not a tail, like I said, but it's very, very neat. Let me see if I can get her back in her little habitat. Her habitat is just dirt in the bottom, water bowl, and a flower pot. That's like her cave. That's her shelter. Let me see if I can get her back in there. Yep, she's in. No, stay in there, young lady. She's trying to climb back out. Okay. I don't want to pinch her legs in the lid here. Yep. Yep.
We have a question, which is, how long can a tarantula live?
Very good question. The males are much smaller. They're lucky to reach 1 to 2 years of age, because when they mate, once they're done doing their thing, if the male does not leave right away, the female gets hungry afterwards, and the male is a lot easier to catch than another prey item, so she will eat the male. So it's rare for them to survive a few matings. So 1 to 2 years. For a female like her, they get much bigger, and they can live 25 to 30 years, which is pretty awesome for an animal like that. Yeah, very long time. And so right now she's about 16. Sweet 16, Angela. 16 years old. And she's full grown. That type is the most common type a lot of people have as pets, because they don't get to, I know to you it's probably huge, but they are tarantulas that get the size of a dinner plate. That's big. But these are more small, easier to care for, and they tend to be pretty docile and not try to bite or fling their hairs at you and that type of thing. All right. I'm going to get one of the animals I have out in the hallway for you. I'll be right back. All right. This is one of my big lizards. His name is Drago. He looks like a dragon. You can see his tongue there. Drago is a tegu. It's kind of a goofy word. It's Tegu. They're native to Argentina. They're fairly common as a pet, but they're kind of specialized in a big cage. You have to be careful because they can bite. If they bite, they can, they can really mess you up if they bite you. He has very large teeth, but he's like a puppy dog. I got this guy on Craigslist for free. Somebody was giving him away, and I drove to this man's apartment to pick up Drago. Drago was just like about a foot long, teeny tiny. And this guy had 30 of these in his apartment above a gas station. And his girlfriend had had enough and kind of gave an ultimatum: the lizards go where I go. So, so he manned up and he got rid of the lizards one by one. So he gave Drago to me. And Drago's special because he's a blend of two different species of tegu. Usually you just see the most common is a black and white tegu. The second most common is probably the red tegu. Drago's mom was a black and white. So when I got him, he was all black and white. But his daddy was a red tegu. So as he's kind of grown and matured, he started to get these rusty kind of orangey red speckles and stripes all over him. He's a very, very handsome guy. It's hard to see. The lighting's not the best in here, but he's very, very handsome. And these in nature, they are an egg hunter. That's their main food. When they're little, they'll eat insects. They'll eat some plants and fruits and things like that. But their main gig is they will use their tongue, flick it out just like a snake. That's their sense of smell. And they will smell the nests of other reptiles. And they'll track it down over a mile away, go right to it, dig the nest up, and devour every single egg in there. And they'll do that over and over and over again all day. His main food is I feed him 6 quail eggs every day because we have a flock of quails here we raise, and each one lays a little speckled egg every day. But these are also invasive down in Florida. They've been released down in Florida too, just like the python I showed you. And it's a big problem because they're an egg hunter, and he will dig up the eggs of native endangered turtles like sea turtles, endangered American crocodiles, and things like that. And it's causing a big problem down there. I want to talk about his tail. Look how long he's like mostly tail. See how long his tail is? Very long tail. This tail does multiple things for him. Number one, if he climbs, he uses that for balance. He cannot wrap it around anything, but he uses that for balance when he climbs. He can also jump to escape danger. He'll jump right out of a tree, and he'll kind of spread his arms and legs and his tail out, and that'll kind of cushion his fall. He'll bounce off the ground and start running, and he can outrun me easily. Outclimb me, outrun me, outswim me. He can dig. So they use that to escape danger. Now, if he's cornered or he cannot get away, yes, he can scratch. Yes, he could bite. But his favorite is he will whip you with that tail. And that's one of the reasons why it's so long and tapers to a tip like that. He will whip you bad with it, and it'll give you bruises, and a large one could even cut you if they whip you with their tail. So that is one of his defenses. Now, a lot of people, when they see him, they think it's a baby Komodo dragon. It's different families. So with lizards, there's all different lizard families, and a lot of people have heard of iguanas. There's a whole iguana family, all different types of iguanas. People have heard of geckos. There's a whole gecko family, chameleon family, skink family, and there's the tegu family and the monitor family. So Komodo dragons are the second longest member of the monitor family. They cannot break their tail off and regrow it. The main difference between monitors and tegus is that tegus can, as a defense, his tail can break off. It wriggles around as a distraction, and he will run away and go hide, and the bleeding stops pretty much instantly, and he will begin to regenerate that tail partially. It'll never grow back how it is now. You can see, it's long, tapers to a tip. He can move it. He has the beautiful black and white stripes on it. When it grows back, it's kind of like scar tissue. It'll be kind of like tan colored. It'll only be half as long. He cannot move it, so there are no bones in it. It's all kind of like fibrous and cartilage, but he can break that off over and over and over as a defense. So I've got to be careful when I'm handling him. I make sure I'm gentle with his tail. Don't ever pick him up by the tail. Don't pull on his tail. I never let kids touch his tail at all. It shows because kids love to pull on things. So I'm always very careful with him. Any questions about this guy? Whoa, there he goes rolling. You got to be careful when he rolls like that of his tail. I'm going to let him sit on my knees. When I bring him out to shows, I wear welding gloves because he'll scratch me when I'm holding him walking around. But if I'm holding him here, I just sit him right on my lap and he'll just sit and snuggle. And if I pet him, he'll like fall asleep on my lap. No questions? I just feel like I'm rambling here, so please ask me anything, guys. I don't want you to be bored or anything. But another cool thing, these are known as being one of the smartest lizards in the world. He knows his name. He comes when I call him. He'll take food from my hand. It's like a puppy lizard. I've read articles where like some scientists claim they can prove that lizards are able to count. I think they can count. I think they can count to like 6 or to 8 or something. No idea how you prove that. But I'll say this: like when I put a plate of eggs in his cage with him, he'll look at it. And if I have 8 there and then I take a few away when he's not watching, he'll look at it and he'll look at me like, dude, really? Like he knows there aren't as many eggs there. So I kind of believe it that they can count. Not even remotely bored, more in awe. Oh, cool, thank you. With all those animals, you must spend all day feeding them. No, actually I don't. The furry animals that I have require care every day, but the reptiles are all different. Like this guy, I feed him 2 or 3 times a week. Snakes eat once a week. It varies. So every night I have something to do, and every morning I have something to do, but not a lot. But like usually one night a week when my kids are in bed, I'll stay up until like 3 in the morning. And that's when I get all the big stuff done. Like I pump the ponds out. I feed, all the snakes and all the lizards that eat mice. I'll thaw out like 30 or 40 frozen mice at a time. I call them mousicles. And I'll feed everyone the frozen mice and frozen rats and that type of thing. And it takes longer. So like while the ponds are pumping out, I'll get everybody fed. So it's not that bad. All right, let me get him away. He's trying to climb. He's really interested in this parakeet here, which I do not like. You cannot play with him. One of their native foods is they will try to eat birds and birds' eggs. So he's looking at this parakeet, like licking his lips. He's trying to climb down to the parakeet. Be right back. You're right there, guys. Wanted to get a few grapes for you to see if I can get one of the furry animals out to show you. Here's one right here sleeping. Hi. Hi, you big boy. Oh, you want to bite you? That's okay. That's okay. I've got you. I've got you.
We did have one more question, Matt.
Sure.
My wife wants to know what your kids think of all these animals.
My kids think we're normal. It's funny. When we go to I always joke around, like we go to someone's house and they have like a dog and they're looking around like, where's the rest? Where's all the crazy stuff? We have just one cat here that named Ollie that has the run of the house. And he's the only animal that doesn't work. He's a total freeloader. So he's a lazy cat. He's a Russian blue. This is Petey. It's one of my new animals. It's a Virginia opossum. It's a handsome little guy. It's funny. Some people think it's like the cutest thing ever, which I do. But some people, I have to convince them the whole time, all the different ways why this is not a rat. It's not like a giant rat. Okay. So he has a cool story, and then I'll talk about his tail. So we've only had him for maybe 3 months. A good friend of mine messaged me on Facebook one afternoon, and he told me that the night before he let his 2 big dogs out to go to the bathroom, like at midnight, and he heard them in a big fight with some kind of wild animal. And the next morning he went outside to look, and there was kind of like blood all over the place. And his dogs had killed a mother opossum that was in the yard. And the mother was carrying babies. The babies were semi out of the pouch, and the dogs had killed some of the babies. But my friend decided to look around and see if any had survived. And like he found this little guy curled up in a ball next to his walkway. And Petey was about that big, about the size of a mouse. He was trying to feed him with a bottle, feed him like Pedialyte or something, and he could not get him to drink anything. His daughter fell in love with this guy, named it Petey, and he asked if we could help. And I said, well, I don't have any experience with this type of possum. I've had Brazilian short-tailed opossums before for work, which are much full-grown. They're the size of a hamster. But So I've handled them, I've housed them, I've raised them and fed them and stuff. So I said I would try. So what we did was we went to the pet store, got a little bottle with a rubber nipple on it, little tiny one for like puppies and kittens. And we got, whatever the dry puppy formula is called. I forget what it's called. Espalac, I think is what it is. Espalac. And we got that, mixed that up for him. And I bottle fed this guy 6 times a day. And funnest part was after that, what mama would do is she would lick her baby's rear end to stimulate them to go to the bathroom. And man, does that taste bad. I'm just joking. I used a wet, warm paper towel and I rubbed his bum and he peed right on you can see his teeth. He peed right on the paper towel. So I had to do that to kind of teach him that when you eat, you go to the bathroom, you go potty. So he started to grow like crazy. I don't know if any of you guys are on Instagram. I've got an Animal World Experience Instagram that I post on more often than anything else. I've also got Facebook and YouTube. But the Instagram, I made quite a few posts when we first got him of me bottle feeding him and him sitting on my shoulder and stuff like that. And he used to like grab onto my ear and bite my ear and dangle like an earring. He doesn't do that now because he has quite the bite now. And he really gets excited. He can smell there's grapes here. Grapes are his favorite food. And when there's grapes, I've got to be very, very careful. I'll see if he'll eat one without biting me here. Grab it. Good boy. Good boy, Petey. There's his grapes. He'll eat like a whole handful of grapes every night. He also eats vegetables, cat food, dog food, all different things. So a couple of cool fun facts about him. They are the only marsupial in North America. They are as old as the dinosaurs. They've been around for millions of years and very, very good at what they do, very good at surviving. One of the reasons why is because they eat literally anything. They'll eat bugs, they'll eat plants, fruits, leaves, roots, birds' eggs, baby birds, lizards, snakes, frogs. They also eat carrion, which is dead things. And that's one of the main downfalls to them right now is because there's so many roads and cars. If an animal gets hit by a car, like a skunk or a squirrel or a rabbit, they smell there's food, the dead squirrel, and an opossum will come at night to eat it, and they'll be sitting on the road eating it, and they'll get hit by a car too. So whenever I see a roadkill, I try to get it off the road because animals like this and turkey vultures and things like that, they'll get hit also. And whenever I find a dead opossum, I always check the pouch to see if it has any babies. So you've got to be very, very careful when you're driving, especially at nighttime. But this guy, I'm keeping as an educational animal. I'm not a licensed rehabilitator. My license is an animal presenter, an animal educator. So I can keep him for that. And I have a license from the state to have this animal for that. And I'm licensed by the USDA too. So now the tail, you've probably all heard that they hang upside down from their tail, right? You've seen like children's books. You probably have children's books there at the library with like possums hanging from their tail and the illustrations and stuff, right? That's not true. They don't do that at all, ever. And just think about this. If you're a little animal like this, and there's big owls out that might want to try to eat you, or hawks, birds of prey, why would you hang out in the open upside down from a tree branch just dangling there? It's like hanging bait. You know, it's like just bait hanging there. Makes no sense survival-wise. They do not do that. They like to find a shelter in a cavity of a tree, and they'll use their tail, and they'll gather up nesting materials like leaves and grasses, and they will wrap their tail around it, carry it. It's like having a little pocket, and they'll carry that up there with their tail and then make their nest. They also, as they climb, they like to wrap their tail around things as they go, just like I said with the snake, as an anchor. If he slips or a branch breaks, if he miscalculated something and he slips, he can hold on with the tail and get a grip with his back feet and climb back on and not fall to his doom, hopefully. And his tail is very, very strong. Pretty awesome. Pretty cool tail. So, all right, I see a question here. Are opossums also active at dawn and dusk like kangaroos and deer? Yes. For them, it's more of an all-night thing, but with animal activity, there seems to be a peak with all different animals at dawn and dusk. So you have like the day crew and the night crew with animals, but there is this one period of time at dawn and dusk for about 45 minutes or so when there's a peak of activity where the nighttime animals are finishing up what they're doing and the day animals are just coming out and everyone's out at the same time. That is the most dangerous time for all these prey species to be out because you've got the day and the night predators out to be dealt with and worried about at the same time. So you will see these around a lot more at dawn and dusk. And what I've noticed here at my house, like we always get fisher cats and opossums and raccoons in the yard because, you know, I have the quails, I have chickens out there, rabbits out there, and I have all these different fruit trees. And I tend to see the most at dusk and also at dawn. I see the most animal activity in my yard. And I have seen a few of these around here also. All right, I'm gonna put Petey away, put him back in his cage there. He's a handsome little guy. He'll get quite a bit bigger than this. They get about the size of a cat, but like twice the bulk of a cat. I know you can't see it, but his cage over here is floor to ceiling. It's about 4 feet across, 3 feet deep. Here, I'll just show you real quick. That right there. Petey's on the bottom. All right. There's his little face. You can see him looking. There's his cage. Goes all the way up. He's got trees in there, and he's got hammocks hanging. Here, I'll just open this up and show you. I'm getting a behind-the-scenes tour, you guys. So it's so hot in here in the summer during the day. He actually will take his little cat bed, and he'll purposely throw it on the bottom. And if it's not as hot that day, he flips it upside down, and he goes underneath it like a little cubby. But if it's hot like it was today, he flips it right side up and he curls up in it. When I got him to see you guys before, he was curled up, and he'll sleep like on his back with his feet up like this, like a dog will, like on the carpet. But sometimes he'll go up higher. You can see he's got several hammocks there. He'll go in his hammocks. This ledge is the only spot he pees and poops. He's taken that as his latrine, which is kind of cool. And you wouldn't know that from just watching wild ones, that they like to pick a spot away from their food to go to the bathroom. That way you don't have all this odor where you like to eat and attract predators in your feeding areas. So it's as far away as he can get from his food. His food is up here. He has two different food bowls, and then that's where he goes to the bathroom, and then he has another hammock up there. So that's his cage. Pretty cool cage. All right. Let me see if I can get another furry animal out. This guy right here. And I have one animal left out in the hallway, and I want to see if I can get this guy out for you first. And I'll kind of position it so you can see me go in there. As you can see, this guy's name is Boo. I've wanted one of these animals forever. And during COVID, another animal company that I'm friends with the owner. A lot of us animal guys, we know each other. It's a pretty big industry in this state. There's dozens of animal companies, but the main companies, we know each other, and some of us are friends and some of us aren't. But this one guy I'd known for over a decade, and he called me and he said, because of COVID, he had to close his business down forever. And it was just, we lost all of our customers, us too, just overnight. Within a span of like 2 days, every single customer I had last year canceled. Meanwhile, this is my full income, full job. I'm the only income in my house. And I had to like still pay to feed everybody, to heat everybody and all that. And he couldn't handle it after a while. So most of his animals went to different zoos throughout Mass and some went to New Hampshire. But he told me he had 3 animals nobody would take. And he figured he'd do one last ditch effort to see if I would take these animals before he continued calling zoos. And he was convinced I was going to say no, but he figured he'd ask me anyway. When he told me what it was, I couldn't believe it because I've wanted one of these forever. But I didn't have the space. And also, if you buy one from a breeder, they cost like $5,000 to buy one from a breeder. And I don't like to buy them from breeders. Plus, I don't have $5,000. So he just gave him to me. I went to his house and I picked him up. He just gave him to me. But I had to like rework this whole room. And this cage right here is 8 feet by 8 feet, 8.5 feet high, has 2 trees in it, bolted to the floor and the ceiling. So let me see if I can get him. He's awake. I saw him in there before. I don't know if he's going to come out for us or not, because it's not nighttime. Hey, Boo. Hi. I see you. Come here, Mr. Boo. Hi. Hi, Mr. Boo. Hi. Hi. Can you come out? I've got some grapes. Can you come get some grapes? Can you have some grapes with me? Come here, mister. Here's your tail. Having a hard time trying. Yeah. turtles. Man, that was easy. It's a cool one. We can get him some grapes so he simmers down real quick for you, and then I'll tell you about him. You're gonna have it. Can you please stay with me for a minute? This is Boo. It's a Kinkajou. A lot of people think it's a monkey or a lemur or something, but it's called a Kinkajou. It's like a South American raccoon. You gonna give me kisses now? Okay. Oh, thank you. You want a grape? No, stay on here. He's trying to climb. He loves to climb onto the turtle tank and harass the turtles. Let me see if I can get him to come around so you can see him better. No, no, no. Stay over here. You want a grape? So this is in the raccoon family. It's like a South American rainforest raccoon. No, he won't eat a turtle. The turtles might nip at him if they're scared, though. He's mostly a fruit eater. He also likes to, good boy. Let's see, he devours his grapes. He has like kind of the same niche raccoon would around here. They're an omnivore, but he is mostly a frugivore. So he would go around at night up in the trees, eating fruit and drinking nectar from flowers that bloom at nighttime. If he found, a little snake or a bird's nest, that kind of thing, he would go for that too. Birds' eggs, baby birds, but it's mostly fruit. And his tongue is about 6 inches long. So when he gives me kisses, he'll give you like the worst wet willy ever. It feels like he's licking your brain. Like it's some more, buddy. And he loves grapes. They're his favorite food also. Him and Petey both love grapes. Good boy. Very, very cool animal. Yeah, so this is like my favorite animal ever. I used to work at a private zoo, and we had a big one of these that was nasty. And whenever I tried to go in its cage to clean it, he would come out and try to eat me, basically. But then we got a baby one that I bottle fed, and on my lunch break, he would curl up around my neck. And I just loved the way he smelled. I would just sit there and like sniff his tail. He'd wrap his tail around my face like it was a mustache, like Yosemite Sam. And I'd smell him. And I know it's weird. I'm like a total freak, but I love how they smell. They smell so good. I know some of you guys, if you have cats or dogs, you've had like one cat or one dog that just smelled so good. They didn't ever smell, bad. So yeah, like that wet dog smell or anything. I used to have a cat like that I just loved how he smelled. Another one. Good boy. But you can see his long tail. It's a prehensile tail, just like the opossum has for climbing. He likes to wrap it around my neck, and it's pretty strong too. And he does not hang from it either, just like the opossum does not hang from it. But same thing, they'll use it as an anchor as he climbs. He's not going to jump around or swing around like you see monkeys do in cartoons. He's a very slow, deliberate climber, and he'll jump if he has to, but he doesn't like jumping. And he wraps his tail around things as an anchor in case he slips or falls or something like that. Pretty cool. And his tail is not dangerous or anything, but his claws are. His claws are quite dangerous. And I named him Boo because I'll sit in there with him, and he likes to climb down from his trees like a little ninja monkey. At the last moment, he'll pounce on my head and scare the daylights out of me. It's like he's going, Boo! So I named him Boo. When I adopted him, his name was Sean. All the guy's animals had human names, so nothing the matter with the name Sean if your name is Sean, okay? I'm not a Sean hater, but I don't like to have my animals having human names. I like to come up with kind of cute names that fit their personality and that kind of thing. And he's an 11-year-old boy, but he might live to be 45 years old. And feeding him is so expensive because of the fruit thing. He also loves sweet potatoes. He loves dog food, things like that, like dry food. There he is. All right, good boy. If there's no other questions about him, I'm going to let him go back in there, and I'll feed him more after we're done. I have one more animal in the hallway I want to show you guys. So, hold on. You mentioned he was an animal you've always wanted. Is there a current animal you'd love to add to the family? We actually went to Southwick Zoo a few weeks ago. I'm like, my one day off, we go to the zoo. Of course, like I don't have enough, right? But my fiance was asking me, like, is there anything here that you really want? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. Like, I'm pretty good now. It's a full house. I don't have room for any more anyway. I don't know. Hi, not my eyeball. Get out of here. I think I'm pretty good. All right, let me get him back in there. And knock this whole water fountain over. Little devil. Let me show you guys his cage too. His cage is pretty neat. another behind the scenes thing here. So this is Boo's cage. It's a little hammock that he's on. He likes to eat food there. And he sits on there, hangs his bum over, and he poops off of that. So just like the opossum, he has one spot that he likes to go to the bathroom. But on the wall back there, you kind of can't see it. That's his nest box. I built him real bridges going up and down. And then he has like hanging toys. So that red ball is his toy now. It's on a carabiner clip, and I'll switch out what toys he has for like enrichment. I can hang things from his little rope nets too. All right, one more animal. Sound good? One more? All right. Hey, big boy. Come here. Oh, stop it. This will be the last one. All right. This is one of my American alligators. Oh, stop. Come on. He did that to me a few weeks ago and busted my lip open. But you can see how big he is. So when I went to adopt Boo, I drove to the guy's house, and while I was there, he's like, "Oh, by the way, I've got 2 alligators nobody wants. Do you want those too while you're here?" And I said, "How big are they?" And he goes, "Oh, they're little, like 3 feet." So I said, "Yeah, okay." And he went and got them. This is not 3 feet. It's like 4.5. But the other one is kind of like 3.5 feet. So I've always wanted alligators, and I joke around with people like I've wanted them forever. I've wanted them since I was a kid, to be honest. But I didn't have room, and also I knew how big they get, and my wife at the time would not allow me to have these in the house because we had a small kid and everything. But I'm divorced now, so I kind of do whatever I want, and I took these in knowing that they're going to need bigger and bigger ponds. Right now, they live in a 300-gallon pond in the other room. That's the biggest pond here at the moment, and that's big enough for them now, but they are going to get big, very, very big. So I'll just build bigger and bigger indoor ponds for them. And eventually, I'll either have to build a greenhouse with a pond inside it, or when my youngest son is 3, when he's older, his playroom is the biggest room in the house. That may end up becoming an alligator room. So we will see. I have his mouth taped just for this. I don't keep him taped all the time. When I come out to do shows, state law, I've got to tape it if I leave the house with him for any reason. But he was extremely aggressive with me when I packed him up, growling at me, trying to bite, trying to climb out. And so I decided to tape him because I did not want you guys to watch me get bit by him. So it's for my safety right now, just because of how he's being right now. So I see a question. That's not what most people do with their kids' rooms when they go off to college. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it, right? It'll be way before he goes to college. It'll be like when he's like 9 or 10 and doesn't hang out down there anymore or whatever, and he hangs out in his room, gator room. That's the plan. When I tell kids, when kids ask me at like a library, if they ask me, I'm like, I'm going to dig a moat around the house, fill it with water. I'll build a wooden drawbridge in front of my door, and I'll have attack gators. That's what I tell the kids, and the kids love it. So if you look at their body, they have a very, very long, look how thick his tail is, very, very powerful tail, okay? So it's very, very powerful and thick at the base where my hand is, but then you can see it flattens out like a paddle. And when they're swimming, if they're trying to swim quickly, they just fold their arms and legs back along their body, kind of like that, kind of like this, and that makes them more streamlined, and they just power with the tail, like a fish swims, basically, to get speed and power, and they can just cruise like that for long distances. If they're moving slower, he'll put his feet out almost to balance, and he has webbed feet. All 4 of his feet are webbed. You can see the fronts have a little bit of webbing. The backs have larger webbing to them, but they don't paddle with them. They just stick them out to make sure they don't kind of like fold over to the side when they're swimming, to kind of steady themselves a little bit when they float. But the all the power is. Now, another crazy thing about the tail is one of their defenses, and everyone knows that gators can bite you, right? They don't like to bite people. They're afraid of people unless you get like a really, really big gator that's been fed by people and they get aggressive and that type of thing. That's a problem. But mostly they're afraid of people, especially when they're small like this. And if you try to touch one or go close enough or try to catch one or whatever, they whip you with the tail, just like the lizard does. This guy whipped me on my bicep about 2 months ago, and it hurt a lot. And it made a disgusting smacking sound, and it gave me a bruise. And I don't bruise easily at all, but he gave me a nice big old bruise as a souvenir. And the same gator, I was trying to take the tape off his mouth, and he decided to go like this, and he busted my lip. And I was just thankful that his mouth still had the tape on it a little bit, because if his mouth was not taped, he could have grabbed my lip and he yanked my lip right off if he did that, even at this size. You can kind of see there how big his teeth are a little bit. He's got a few of them hanging out. Most of the teeth on an alligator, they fit into sockets on his jaw, but they have a few teeth that stick out and you can see them. They're pretty big. Pretty impressive, pretty cool animal. So I don't know what else to tell you about him. Any other questions about him before I kind of wrap things up here? I hope this was fun for you guys. You learned some cool things and got to meet some cool animals. You see, I'll wait a second, see if anybody types anything in the chat there. Do you have any questions? You're the only person I can see. Is there anything you want to know, or any comments or anything?
Not that I can think of. I was actually just going to say I'm going to put those links back in the chat again, so if people want to grab them before we close out the.
I see it. There you go.
So there's a survey, and then there's
any good animal escape stories? Thankfully, no. I'm very, very careful. I think I mentioned before at the snake, like this, every animal cage has locks on it. The animal rooms I lock when I'm not around, especially when the kids are around. The kids are here, I lock them. Because the last thing I want, because this is my full-time job, my business, and I try to be professional. Last thing I want is there to be an accident and someone to get hurt, and then for it to be like on the news or in the paper, that kind of thing. Like Animal Man, gator escapes and like kills a neighbor's cat or something like that. That kind of thing. What worries me is like if my kids have friends over. My kids grow up with these animals. They know not to go in here without me ever. They know not to go in an animal's cage, that kind of thing. But like their friends are curious. And last thing you want is like me to be upstairs and, one of my kids' friends to be like, oh, like, let's go like play with an alligator. And then for them to go in without me and like someone, their friend gets bit or something stupid, so just have to be careful. But yeah, no escape stories. My snapping turtle Pee-wee got out of his carrier when I was driving on the highway on the way home from a show one time. And that was fun because his shell's about 1 foot long and he's not the sweetest turtle. So I heard a bang. He was banging around the whole trip, but I heard a big bang and a pop. And I look in the rearview mirror and I see his head like peeking out and the lid opening up. And he looked at me, I looked at him, and then he climbed out, went underneath my seat, and I felt him coming up where my feet were near the car pedals. And I like pulled over on the highway, got out. I'm trying to wrestle him back in there. And he had broken the carrier. So all I had was duct tape, and I wrapped duct tape around the whole thing to keep him in there until I got home. So that was fun.
I think that's a pretty good animal escape story.
Yeah. But nothing here at the house, luckily, because I'm very, very careful, especially because there's kids here. So. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Matt. This is great.
I mean, I'm good. I think I'm done.
Yeah, it was great to get the behind the scenes tour. I think that if anything, your business should have gone up in the pandemic. We could have all seen behind the scenes. It's great. Thank you so much for taking some time to show us your animals.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for being here, guys. I wish I could see your faces, but that's okay. Thank you guys for being here. Hope you enjoyed it. Check me out on Instagram, please. Animal World Experience. Check me out on Facebook, then the YouTube channel if you want. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Oh, there are kids. Oh boy. Oh boy. Didn't get too crazy, so that's okay.
It's okay.
All right.